Welcome to episode 119 of The Endless Stream. I'm Aidan, and this week I am joined by Brian and Kevin. We are three artists, illustrators, filmmakers, and all-round shit talkers. And each week we take some of the endless stream of content brought to you through Netflix, Hulu, Disney+, Spotify, YouTube. Wherever you get your content, we take a chunk of it, we watch it, and we talk about it. This week we are talking about the David Fincher movie The Game from 1997, starring Michael Douglas, Sean Penn, Deborah Kara Unger, a film that's sandwiched between Seven and Fight Club, a lesser known Fincher, so we decided to watch it and take a look at it and chat about it. If you like what you hear, please consider subscribing to the podcast, heading over to iTunes or Spotify, liking, subscribing, rating and reviewing. All of those good things really help us out. On top of that, you can head over to Instagram where you can shoot us a message, disagree with us, suggest something for us to watch. It's a great way to get in touch. We put up clips and artwork to go with each episode over there. Or you can send us an email at theendlesscast@gmail.com. All of that being said, let's get into the episode. Brian, how you doing?
Hello. Tis yourself.
Tis me. It's me.
You're the problem.
We are having a bit of trouble getting us all on the same page. But what I think we do is I'll chat to you now, and then I'll chat to Kevin on Sunday, and I'll see where we can edit things together.
Make it sound like he's here. Insert him.
Make it sound like he's here.
Put him,
yeah.
So I'm going to pause.
I'm fine. I'm alive. I'm here. Yes.
And then I'm going to resume talking. That's where Kev said something, probably about taking a shit.
How have you been? Any crazy life news?
I got a PlayStation VR.
Oh.
Yeah. I've only just got to use it yesterday. It was a birthday present. It's a crazy generous birthday present. It's fun. I'll send you a video of me fooling around with it later. I took two videos. I took a video, one pointing at me and the headset and the controllers, and then the other pointing at the screen, so you can see what's going on the screen, and then you can see what I'm doing to perform.
What's the game you're playing in it, or what are the?
I started with, so it came with the Horizon Call of the Mountain.
Okay.
But I had to download it. It took forever to download.
Right.
But there was a free upgrade for Resident Evil Village, which I have already, and the upgrade is only it was less than a gigabyte upgrade to play the VR version. So I downloaded that, and that's what I was playing, and it's so cool.
Okay.
Like the weapon controls and stuff. Your knife is on your left arm, so you have to actually physically reach up towards your left arm
to get the weapon.
Press one of the buttons, and the buttons are around the grip where your fingers
keep the mic next to you.
So you actually... Sorry. Yeah, I'm holding like VR controls. The button for grips, basically, there's buttons for grips where your fingers would be as if you were holding a thing. So as I reach up to my left arm, I press the button, and then the knife comes out. And if you press the trigger button, it flips the knife in your hand. So you can point it with the blade up or pointing down. The handgun is on your hip, so you have to reach down, pick it up, eject a magazine with your left hand, grab another magazine, insert it in. With the aiming down the sights, as you're looking down the sights, I'm assuming it's a deliberate touch. The sights aren't lined up. I have to close one eye for the sights to line up. So it kind of feels like, the character's inexperienced with guns and stuff. So, if I'm holding the gun, it makes more sense for me to close one eye and look down the sights. The shotgun's over your shoulder. So if I want to grab the shotgun, I have to reach behind my back. You put the cartridges for the shotgun in one at a time. So when I'm reloading in the game, I don't just press a button and wait for an animation. I have to physically take them out of my pocket, load it into the bottom, take it out of the pocket.
Do you have to grip each time you pull a shell out? Yeah. Oh, do you have to put the knife back before you pull the shotgun?
You don't have to put the knife. I tried to put the knife back. Maybe there was a way to do it, but if I just drop the knife, it just drops and then it reappears in my arm. I guess maybe they decided it was too clunky to
expect you to try and return it.
Put it back in, yeah. But yeah, you put the things in one time. On the sniper rifle, on the one I have at the moment, it's a bolt action, so I have to actually physically reach up over, pull it, and turn it to eject the casing and stuff. And it's, yeah, I've played very little of it so far. It takes it's What I found was straining on the eyes more than anything is when the character's on the ground or something and an object is really close to their face.
Right.
For some reason, that makes me feel, even though like I'm not moving when that's happening, that makes me feel nauseous.
Right.
So I'm only playing kind of short bursts at a time, but it's very cool. It's even the setup for it is, I don't know if you remember, like Johnsy's one of the two cameras.
Mm-hmm.
This one has cameras mounted on the outside. So it's the setup for it is so impressive. You just plug it in. The headset, USB-C goes from the headset right to the front of the console. That's the extent of setup. Then there's a bit of calibration, but like the second you put the thing on, it shows you the outside view. So as you put it on, like there's a light guard, so it blacks out everything. So it's like total blackness, and then suddenly the screen comes on, and I can see the room around me, and like there's little AR kind of
Little
things
markers
to show you where the controllers are, and they're like, I can see my hands, and I can see this like light around my hand. It's like, this is fucking cool.
Oh, that's amazing.
This is like, it's so fucking cool. It's very impressive. I'm thinking of buying Gran Turismo, even though I'm not much of a racing game person, just for the experience of.
Yeah. Do you have to get you'd have to, well, you don't have to get anything, but I'd want a steering wheel if I've got the headset.
I wonder would the steering wheel feel, I don't know.
Yeah.
Does it feel more virtual reality with, pretending? I think that would feel more virtual reality than like holding two separate things in my hand and pretending that's a steering wheel as opposed to holding an actual
Oh my god, you're in the
shaped thing in my hand.
you're becoming the lawnmower man. You're becoming the virtuosity. What was the third one? What's the one with Michael Douglas is with Demi Moore? Yeah, Disclosure. Or Jurassic Park had a VR thing too, right? No, it didn't have a VR. It had a CG computer. Like she was looking at it on a monitor, and it was moving around.
Yeah,
That's what
Johnny Mnemonic.
Johnny Mnemonic, exactly. Yeah,
Matrix.
The future is now.
It is. It's very impressive. It's cool.
Yeah.
Every time I like take the headset off, I feel like I've been jacked in.
Oh my god, are you
Plugged into the mainframe?
So you're sold on it so far?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
There's a game called Moss. There's two games. There's Moss and Moss Book 2, and you actually don't play as the mouse. You play as like this sort of, I don't know. The game is featuring a mouse, but you're not playing it from the mouse's POV.
Right.
You're kind of observing the mouse, and then you're not quite a god, but you're helping the mouse kind of. But it's not a mouse like, it's kind of a medieval fantasy. It's a sort of a Redwall type mouse situation, not a pest running around
Okay.
an apartment or something.
How do you spell the game? How do you spell it?
Moss.
Just Google an image. MOSS?
Yep.
Huh.
Look up Book 2, because the first one looks a bit dated already, even though it's only 5 years ago. I mean, it still looks really nice. It just,
Oh, I see what you're saying. I do see what you're saying. So he's a sort of bipedal adventuring mouse.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. It's cute looking.
Probably going to check that out. I've heard it's fantastic. Really good fun. There's that. And then there's a couple of like, I don't want to say gimmicky, but like a lot of VR is about the
interface.
The experience and stuff as opposed to the actual game itself. There's a Tetris Effect upgrade. It's not free, but I think it's only like a tenner, which I'll buy because I'm a big fan of Tetris Effect. What else?
You'd be in the Tetris game.
I'll be in it.
You'd be in it.
The Horizon game looks really cool as well. I'm kind of looking forward to trying that later. That should be like a 50 gig download. So
I've talked about we've talked about the idea that like one of the fascinating things about VR when it's working, like, because it is a bit of like, we used the HTC Vive previously, so there's a little bit of setup, getting the towers in place and defining your room, and the cables a bit, like it's getting more streamlined as time goes on here, but like the trick it plays on your memory of scale and experience, like it's one thing playing a zombie game like Resident Evil or whatever the HTC version was at the time on a screen where you see a 2-inch representation of a zombie coming towards you. But when it's strapped to your face and the dimension is relative and suddenly this zombie is 6 feet tall beside you, it's your brain just remembers this guy being there. Your brain remembers you holding a gun.
You're in it.
Yeah.
You really, like, and I'm playing sitting down at the moment. I'm going to try standing up later because it kind of messes with the scale a bit. But there's a point at the start of Resident Evil where you're just walking down the village and there's a dead horse, and it's the size of a horse. Like it's not a horse on screen, and I'm seeing it in the first person. There's a dead. Now it doesn't look real in the sense like it's not photoreal, but it looks like that object is there in front of my eyes. And it's crazy. And there's a scene. It's in all the trailers for Village, where you go into a cabin and an old guy is hiding and he shoots you in the face with a rifle. But then he comes up and he like tells you to be quiet because there's the werewolves outside. But his face is like here, and it's so intense. Like the emotion on his face is really, really vivid. He doesn't look photoreal again. He looks good. Doesn't look bad, but just there's so much more going on in the facial animation than you can appreciate when you're playing it on a screen. When it's a person's face, like the size of your face, it's cool. It's very impressive. So Horizon's going to be fun later because like Resident Evil Village came out over a year ago, and it was an upgrade to play this version, whereas the Call of the Mountain Horizon game is a like purpose built. Like there's Horizon Forbidden West, and then Call of the Mountain, which is a VR specific experience. And Guerrilla Games make really, really slick kind of experiences. So that'll be fun to try later.
That's cool. So have you any interest then in the Apple, what did they call it? Apple Glass or Apple, what did they name the?
No. That seems more like a AR, which is cool. Like, don't get me wrong, it's cool seeing things laid over in real life, but there seems to be more of a everyday kind of thing. Tool
type of thing. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I think it's, from what I've heard, it's heavy. Like, watched, I don't know if you watch MKHD or MKHD's reviews and stuff on YouTube. Marcus Brownlee. He would be a go-to tech.
My name's familiar.
He would be a go-to tech reviewer for me. He's been on YouTube for a decade.
I've probably seen some of the stuff. His name's familiar. Yeah. Or maybe you told me about him. But I've probably seen it if you tell me.
He's kind of what's the word? Prolific, or like he's been around a long time at this point in tech, phone reviews, games. Not so much games, more tech specific. But yeah, he was talking about the weight. I suppose the PlayStation VR is being driven off the PlayStation, which makes perfect sense. They were talking about VR headsets like the Oculus and things previously being comparable to being, smartphone driven. Like when you think of the computer chips or the boards that are in them, whereas the Apple solution is more like strapping a MacBook Pro to your head. It's just like a step up in the technology driving things, so you've got quicker responses and it's able to do a lot more at the same time, and that's how you get the it talks about the cameras and sensors built around the front of it as well, that it's looking at your hands, it's tracking your little digits, so if you move one or other in like a left, right, or a tip tap, that's your mouse click, and it's subtle. You can keep it very small. That's a click. I think it's just, if you just do that and you start not thinking about it, you're just doing it. And the
saying that like when I'm doing something on Figma or something, the amount of times I wish that like I could zoom out and see the whole thing and just like physically grab a thing and just move it. So I do see the appeal of it, particularly as I said, like the AR feature on the PS VR 2 is very cool. And that's just the setup. But like it's got this like ring around the thing to show you where your controller is located, so you can. And it's very cool. So. I was taking the piss out of it when Apple,
also their thing looks or something. $4,000.
Yeah, that's crazy, and it looks stupid. Yeah. Like mine is kind of like, it's not bulky, but it's bigger than you would think. Yeah. But it looks cool when it's on. I feel like I'm in Ghost of the Shell.
Yeah, I think you need to like LED out the room or something. Get some get some point lightings and stuff. And
yeah, I did actually. I don't know if I saved it. It was one of the first times I saw an LED light. Kind of, it was an ad on Instagram. I was just like, okay, that looks. Because I think mostly LED lights look.
Yeah, it looks naffy Twitch streamer things, you know.
Yeah.
Like I did think about lighting this room up a bit when I was doing some Twitch stream and stuff as well, but like I wanted to find a way to do it tastefully and not be just
because that's the thing. It's
Twitch
just like,
stream stuff, you know.
Yeah. Oh look,
I like better light in a room than there is.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's a busy.
Bounces, maybe.
It's a busy weekend for film. We could talk briefly about the new releases. We said we were going to talk about Michael Douglas's The Game.
How did
David
that come
Finchers The Game. So that came up because Chris and I were we were just watching other films. We were just watching, we were looking at films that get missed, films that get forgotten about. We were having a little conversation about. I think it probably came out of the Virtuosity and Johnny Mnemonic browsing we were doing, and we found The Game and we're like, what is that? And I don't remember that movie coming out. And I was thinking about this as well. Well, maybe we just talk about The Game for a bit and we'll get into new releases and all later. But so I was thinking about this. I didn't see The Game when it came out, and I was like, how did I miss that? Because I like David Fincher movies. And when I thought about it, I can think back to a young Aiden becoming a film nerd. And I do remember, I would go to the cinema and I would watch a lot of stuff and we'd rent movies. But I remember seeing The Matrix for the first time when I rented it. And I remember seeing Fight Club for the first time when I rented it. And seeing, the camera move and the story and The Matrix specifically, and The Fifth Element was one as well. Those are three films that I mark as, I can't believe I didn't see this in a cinema. I saw them in home video, and I had the reaction for all three of them, which was, I can't believe I didn't see this in the cinema. And from that point on, I kind of resigned myself to, I'm going to the cinema more often. I hadn't been, it became a weekly thing for me. It became that's, somewhere in the rental cycle of probably The Matrix was the last straw, the straw that broke the camel's back, where I just went, okay.
That's kind of late.
Yeah, I know. I was easily 15, I would go to the cinema, but I wasn't picking up Empire magazine and finding out about films and going.
I wouldn't have gone very regularly. And yet I did see Fifth Element and The Matrix in the cinema.
I just put
But by the time The Matrix came out, I was seeing stuff regularly. But yeah, certainly with Fifth Element, it would have been a kind of a less frequent.
Without Fifth Element is 97, 96.
I would say 95.
Ooh, even earlier.
My dad took me to see Fifth Element.
Yeah. Well,
I think it was 95.
I remember a summer holiday, standing in my front garden, just walking around in circles because I was nothing to do as a kid. I had no money. It was a very stressful time. But I was just walking around in circles talking to my neighbour, and he was explaining this movie he saw to me. And I remember distinctly going, I don't know what the fuck you were talking about. And I was half tuning him out, and he was just like, and then the bullets went this way and that way and this way. And I was just like, what the fuck? How am I?
What are you saying?
What in the name of God are you saying? And it was a year and a half later, I think, when I finally saw The Fifth Element, that I was like, oh, I can understand how this would be hard to explain to a person. This poor, frustrated individual. But it is those...
Especially when neither of you were probably familiar with Mobius at the time.
No.
So you couldn't just say, Mobius.
Of course. And so those three films are films that I was like, right, from now on, I am an active cinema goer, as opposed to somebody who, would go to the cinema occasionally, but was mostly renting stuff and wasn't, picking up Empire magazine. 1997, 1998, I didn't have an internet process for watching trailers, Apple trailers wasn't a thing yet. Do you remember that?
QuickTime.
Yeah. So the fact then that 7 had come out, again, that came out, I would have been 10, so I wasn't going to see 7. Fight Club was 99, I think. So in between those two, David Fincher made The Game with Michael Douglas. Who else is in that? Sean Penn, Deborah Kara Unger. Is that her name?
Yep.
I don't know her well. She's in Crash, I think.
Crash. Yep.
Which is a movie I heard the concept of and scares me, and as such, I've never watched it.
It's nowhere near as bad as it sounds.
What if
There's
it
some wild
awakens
stuff in
something
it,
in me?
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, let it.
oh, okay.
It's inside you already. It just needs to be aroused.
And also, again, then seeing The Game and Virtuosity and scrolling through IMDb as well. I saw a poster for like a Bob Hoskins, Denzel Washington buddy cop detective movie from the like early 90s or late 80s. I think Bob Hoskins is the ghost of a detective and he's haunting Denzel Washington to help solve his murder or something. And it's like, that's...
Hollywood has always been scraping the barrel. I don't want to hear any more about franchises and things. It's like, give me a franchise over that nonsense anytime.
I want to see it so badly.
Of course you do.
But it's this idea, I guess, and I mentioned it. I don't know if it's a separate podcast or mini episodes of this that I record on my own, but I talked about finding the a YouTube channel full of Ebert and Roper episodes from the 90s. Is that who I mean? Ebert and Roper and Ebert? I get mixed up because I know
Not Siskel and Ebert?
Siskel and Ebert, right? Because Siskel died and then it became Roper.
I think so.
Right. There was some path.
You're on about the earlier ones anyway.
Yes, whichever the early ones
Yeah.
are. Probably Siskel and Ebert.
Siskel.
Yeah. So Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert are film reviewers from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and they would have been a go-to voice for people.
Very effective rating system.
They could make or break, or people felt like they could make or break films as well. Like I know that in Willow, the two-headed monster that they fight in the castle was called on set or referred to as Siskabert, because Ron Howard had got a bad review somewhere and kind of held it against the boys in a friendly, jibey way. But I think I was saying to you that like I watched a couple of those episodes and most of the time I would know the movies they were talking about, but there was usually one where I'm like, what the fuck is that film? And the mini episode concept is just go grab that film and watch it and give it a 30-year later review because it's been lost to time, you know? Like people forget about, I don't know, the one I keep referring to is like a rom-com with Michael Keaton and somebody else, and they're speechwriters for Republican and Democratic Party, and you know they get together and then realize that they're on opposite sides, and like it basically got very poorly reviewed. But it was like, what the fuck is that film? Because in the same episode there was talking like a river runs through.
Is that really how you want to spend 2 hours?
Yeah.
Watching a forgotten oddity that
Kinda.
no one cares about.
I think it's fun.
Okay.
Well,
I'm not saying it's not
a lot
fun.
of effort. Of course, it could be complete dross, but there's plenty of like just middle of the road things that are entertaining and get lost. You know?
Yeah. You could read a book though as well.
Look, if history has taught us anything, it's that I'm not doing that.
You could journal for 2 hours. You could do some mindful meditation.
So, had you seen The Game? Have you rewatched The Game this week, or?
I didn't rewatch it this week, but I've seen it a lot.
You've seen it
and
a lot.
I rewatched it within the last, I would say, 2 years. I rewatched it. I can't remember why exactly. I mean, I like Kermode, but I don't go out of my way to listen to him.
Right.
But I do like him.
Mm-hmm.
But I did listen to an episode of the show that he had where they ranked Fincher's films from worst to best. And Kermode hates The Game.
Right.
Hates it. He just thinks it's too preposterous and far-fetched. And it is far-fetched, but I think it's much more relevant today than it probably was back then. Particularly on so many levels, just in terms of like the rich and their wealth. And like it was absurd back then to think a rich person could afford a film production budget for a birthday party.
Yeah.
But if we've learned anything about millionaires and billionaires over the last 10 or 20 years since the film came out, it's like they do have that money, and that is exactly the type of shit they would spend it on.
I kind of think 100%,
So,
yeah. And it is...
at the time, I think he was just making, a paranoid kind of thriller.
Yeah.
But now it could double as the excess of wealth, and look at what they do to entertain themselves, rather than, they're in submersibles going to the Titanic rather than fucking helping the world, Anyway, I like the game.
So
I have seen it recently.
Just for the sake of the listener,
recap time.
Recap
Give
time.
him a recap.
Yes. I just want to get a good recap rather than me guessing it here. Nope, that's the game.
Michael
the rapper.
Douglas is a rich dude.
Michael Douglas plays Nicholas Van Orton.
Okay, do your version.
Huh?
We'll do your.
No, you go for it. You've seen it a bunch of times. Sorry, I'm
joking.
I stepped in it the one time you actually went to explain a movie.
I'm joking. Go on.
Okay. Michael Douglas playing Nicholas Van Orton, a banker, and it's his birthday, and it's the it's the anniversary of his father's death, and he's got an estranged wife and a dilettante brother played by Sean Penn, and the brother shows up and gives him a gift of like a voucher to a place called CRS, who put together bespoke entertainment for the wealthy, his game, and they take his money and set him off in motion and don't really tell him what the game is. And over the course of the next 2 hours, it's unclear whether or not they're trying to just destroy his life and take his money, or if it's all an illusion. And who's in on it.
There's a real question of whether is he losing his mind? Is there a family history of mental illness? Is all this kind of trauma finally catching up with him? Or is it a scam? Or is it just a game? Or is there even another layer going on? It really does kind of put you in the mind of somebody. Kind of, I wouldn't say like it's done for entertainment first, but there is a question of is he just losing his mind, or what's happening? Has he cracked from years of mental neglect, chasing success, and, ignoring the trauma of his dad's suicide and all that? We're not spoiling it, are we? Are we? Are we spoiling it?
I think we've announced that we're watching it. We're talking about the fact that we're talking about it. We're going to talk about it top to bottom, because it's 1997 as well, and that's one of the advantages of picking a movie from 20 odd years ago. Is we're going to fucking spoil it. We're going to talk about it in and out.
I think it's aged better. I think if Kermode was to watch it again, because there's so much. I remember. I can't remember which I'd seen first. Had I seen this or Seven first? I'm not sure. But I remember one of the things that really struck me about the film was, when I was kind of, I didn't even know the word, cinematography. Just gorgeous in this film. Just like the scene particularly, it stuck out at the time, and it still stands out when I watch it again, when he is in the hotel room and he's looking at all the photos, and just the set dressing of the room and the way the room is lit and shot is fucking gorgeous. It's so moody, it's so stylish, it's fucking cool. And if Kermode's biggest problem with the film is that it's absurd and ridiculous, I think it's far less ridiculous today than it was 20 odd years ago. I think the film is aged better.
I don't know if you can see my very first note I took on my phone as I was watching it is cinematography.
Was that Darius Conju did this?
I don't know, and I'd be grateful for you to look it up while I just say that, like, I was watching it looking at the, like, again, it's 90s rich guy in like a club in, they're San Francisco, right? So it's like a gentleman's club or wherever his business is, and the offices are all dark wood and there's so much shadow and like low pointing light, and it's rich and it's deep, and it reminded me of like the more pensive shots of The Godfather, you know, where Brando's just sitting in darkness, in like, you know, what can look very...
Harris Savides. Sorry, not Darius Conjure, Harris Savides, who is amazing.
So what else have they worked on?
I'm looking up some. So he was cinematographer on a load of Mark Romanik's music videos.
Okay.
Pretty much all of them,
Right.
I think, or a good amount of them. I'm trying to look at some of the, like, there's loads of stuff here that you'd recognize. I'm just looking for the ones specifically that I'm a fan of. Zodiac.
Oh yeah. So just a relationship with Fincher then. Was he on 7?
Yeah. Scrolling down to look for that now. He is the cinematographer on some bunch of Michel Gondry's stuff, music videos. Game. Fiona Apple's Criminal video, which Romanek directed.
Right.
He wasn't on 7.
Okay.
By the looks of it. Yeah, he's worked with Romanek and Fincher quite a bit.
Well, the
Closer, 9 Inch Nails, cinematographer in that video.
the so yes, the cinematography as you're talking about is absolutely beautiful. The shots in the mansion when it's been destroyed as well, like, and graffitied up, it's such a great, like, comprehensive redress of the set, and it's got that sort of day glow light thing as well, where it's like this idea that, like, was that stuff there the whole time, and it's just the lights showing it up. The opening sequence with the Super 8 or Super 16, like whatever it is, family home video footage of the birthday party when he's a boy and his father being this presence, and
very Succession opening.
That's what I was about to say. Succession, no doubt. Is Fincher involved in Succession? He's not a producer or something?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
No. But yeah, there's no way the opening credits of Succession exist without having someone having seen The Game, because there's a very direct line in terms of the way of representing family dynamics and father-son relationships. So that's, like, as you say, more relevant than ever, I guess. Succession again going on and just winning all the awards, Brian. All the awards.
All the awards.
I've only seen half of the first season, I think. I guess I got to watch more of it. Kind of got annoyed by Brian Cox publicly for a little bit.
He's an ass.
He started being an ass, and I started...
He's an absolute ass. He's always been an ass.
Yeah.
Because I remember from years ago, I remember from X2, he'd be saying some stupid shit.
Yeah.
Because he's an asshole.
Yeah. I kind of got that sense.
And there's a reason he's so good as
an asshole.
Logan, is because he's just playing a fucking version of himself.
Yeah.
He's a dickhead.
There's a...
Worst Brian. Among the worst Brians.
Among the worst Bryans.
There's plenty of them.
There's... I was having this thought, like, again, it's off topic of The Game, but I was having this thought about the idea that, like, I had it initially when I saw a picture of, like, World War II veterans in their 80s, you know, at the front of a parade somewhere. And it's like, these two people were born on opposite sides of a country, maybe different armies in different worlds. They've been brought here and stuck next to each other because they're the last surviving two people. Maybe it was World War I veterans, but the last surviving two people of a generation. And they just sit next together when they have to spend time together. It's just like, I guess we're what's left, you know. And it's the people that become national treasures within pop culture or within nature, like your Stephen Fry's, like your Ian McKellen's, your all the various Dames, and Brian Cox. Like, I can imagine, I don't know if they were working together or something, but I can imagine that Ian McKellen fucking hates Brian Cox. Yeah. I don't know that they've been in something together. But just the differences in behaviors and demeanors, X2. I can imagine McKellen fucking hates Brian Cox. But just by sheer nature of being British actors that have survived and kept working.
Of a certain age, yeah.
They are in the same category of, you know, national treasure of the theatre. And I can just... as time goes on, the two of them are going to have to be at more and more fucking like memorial events or, you know, like fundraising things for British theatre and stuff, or at least mentioned in the same breath. You know what I mean? I just, it is that funny thing that it's like,
and if it's not them,
it's this dickhead. You know what I mean?
If it's not them, there definitely is a couple that represents that. You know,
yeah,
they could be best of buds, but you could be guaranteed that, as you said, you know, there's two people that are just what's left that are put together, and they probably don't have much time for each other.
Yeah, like the Rat Pack.
But then again, you hear about like Supreme Court justices, you know, fucking being on opposite ends of a political spectrum and just every day having lunch with each other and enjoying each other's company.
Yeah.
And fuck that.
But I think about that as well.
Let's put aside our differences for lunch. No, let's not. How about you stop being a shit bag and trampling on people's lives, and then maybe we'll grab a slice together then. But until you stop being an unrelenting piece of shit.
Well, I think about that as well in terms of like
work buddies.
Oh, I've lost the thought.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I lost it, but it was a similar thing of like just people that have to be around one another eventually. Like the Rat Pack, like that Rat Pack era crooner. We know who the like international top tier of those people are. You got Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., right? Those three are, you know, the top tier of that era's singer, dancer, movie people, right? I don't know who else you would mention. I do know who else you would mention. Tony Bennett and Robert Goulet are the ones that come to mind, and those are the ones that did the longest like residencies in Vegas, and especially the Bennett Lady Gaga sort of connection that sort of built over time here as well. But this sort of legendary status that was applied to him, and it's like, obviously, yes, he's worked forever, but there's also an element of like, he's getting this because he's the only one left, right? You know, he's the last one alive, you know? It's like Jerry Lee Lewis outlived Elvis and everyone else as well, you know what I mean? But I have taken us way, way, way off topic. One of the things I liked about the game, or I noticed about the game, was the action and the energy of it being really gripping and really like engaging without CG or computer control camera moves. You know, it smacked of an earlier type of filmmaking in a way. You know, that sort of like, it is 25 years ago. The camera's more locked off. We're actually doing stuff in camera and real. And we know that Fincher has really got into computer control camera moves as well as CG stuff. If you think about Panic Room and Fight Club and everything that would come after it, how he started just moving cameras through the rooms almost, you know, autonomously or you know, like an objective observer. And there's a few moments in the game where I start to see that style of filmmaking coming in, where Deborah Carunger's talking about the camera in the smoke alarm, and then the camera angle changes from a POV of that smoke alarm. You know, like he's starting to do that thing where the camera is this active observer, but he doesn't have, you know, a computer controlled motion arm moving through the entire room, or indeed a completely CG generated sequence as it goes through air ducts and stuff. So it was kind of nice seeing an earlier, stiller version of Fincher. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What's the last Fincher film that we saw? Like, what's the last thing he put out?
Mank, I think.
Mank, okay.
I mean, technically, Bad Traveling.
Oh yeah, the animated
Bad Robot, or the Love, Death and Robots episode, which is, you know, which I love. There was Mank, and there was were we talking specifically directed? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see. I'm
Mank,
just trying to think of his catalog.
Yeah, and Bad Traveling. He produced that series of video episodes or essays on Netflix. That's really good. War. Have you seen that?
I have seen that it exists, but I haven't watched it.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's really easy to watch. Like I know I say video essay, and you think, oh god.
No, I don't. I've
No, I mean some people
Okay.
probably do. No, it's really easy to watch.
Okay.
Just recommend that. Highly recommend that.
yeah, I've hovered over it on Netflix a dozen times and gone, I should watch this.
Just background, put it on even.
Yeah.
Because you'll find yourself being drawn into it as opposed to just passively listening.
Yeah.
I think you'll be like, this is interesting.
Zodiac. You see the director of The Curious Case of Benjamin Button?
Yes.
That's weird. Like the Mindhunter, he was on that for a while. Mindhunter and Mank. Okay, yeah. I see where he's gone. Yeah, I think it was just nice seeing this stiller version of Fincher. I think it's great seeing Michael Douglas in that sort of role as well, in that sort of like leading role. I haven't really seen that in a while. I didn't watch.
Does Douglas live in San Francisco?
I don't know.
I'm just thinking between The Game and The Streets of San Francisco and Ant-Man. There's a lot of Douglas in San Francisco.
Interesting. You don't think he lives in Wales with Captain Zeta-Jones?
No.
No.
I mean, if he had a choice of the two, I mean, he probably has more than one house.
Yeah, he probably has many homes.
It's just interesting, though, isn't it?
Captain Zeta-Jones lives in Westchester, New York, along with her husband Michael.
They probably winter in San Francisco.
But I think I forget sometimes about Michael Douglas's, career.
It's The Streets of San Francisco.
Mm.
I watched a lot of that show.
I don't think I've ever seen any of that show.
You know?
No.
It was on, RT had it on all the time.
92 episodes from 72 to 76.
Yeah.
Is he the young lead? Or what is he?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
The Streets of San Francisco.
Huh.
You must have seen it.
I don't think I've ever seen this.
RT showed it. I think it was on it was on weeknights for sure. And probably weekends as well. I feel like it was on Monday or Tuesday night maybe.
I'm looking at this. Well, I'm looking at IMDb. And the person in the picture, is this a later person? That doesn't look like Michael Douglas at all. That
Have I
looks
mixed
like
this up?
Richard
No.
Hatch. If I were to guess who that is, I'd say it's Richard Hatch.
It is Douglas though, isn't it?
Yeah, Douglas is in there.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
IMDb's photos just seem to be this other guy, and I'm looking at it going, that's not Michael Douglas.
No, he's in the show. It's him and the older cop.
Yeah, Carl Malden. So,
Who was TV Gene Hackman in my mind.
oh, I can see that
As a kid.
because of the French Connection-y vibe. He's got a hat in the picture I see. That equals French Connection. So, as it goes on, he thinks that Deborah Carr Unger is somebody he can trust. Then he thinks he can't trust her. Then he thinks he can trust her. Then he can't trust her. It becomes unclear how much of it is.
Goes to tell you how much paranoia there was in the mid to late 90s. Because we had this, and then we had the Matrix not long after. And technology was a threat.
Yeah, I definitely reached a
it's-
point with it where I was completely convinced that it was a con to rob him.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I was like,
I think that's the happy ending. Is it all works out?
yeah,
Presumably,
Yeah.
But, yeah, they very much kind of, he's been ripped off, he's been scammed, and then he kills his brother, and then he is pushed towards doing the same thing that his dad did, which again Kermode feels is far-fetched. It's like, no, they profiled him.
Yeah.
They did a bunch of psychometric testing.
Yeah.
They know what his childhood trauma is.
they broke him over a period of a week
Yeah. It was tailor made to
drive him towards suicide. So and that's the bit where I kind of was like, I think it held itself really well because I completely believed it was a scam and he'd been ripped off right up until it was revealed that it wasn't a scam. It was a big party, which is so absurd and hyper real and kind of The Prisoner-y, you know what I mean? This sort of like how goof.
The part with him running through the canteen is great
Yeah.
because that feels like I feel like I've seen that so many times in the years since, but it's usually in a digital scenario.
Yeah.
You know, in almost like
Spider-Verse.
Wreck-It Ralph or something. Yeah, Spider-Verse. You know what? Or where there's this back room where all the NPCs when they're not in use are just hanging out.
Yeah.
And that's a really cool surreal scene where he's just kind of running through and that they're in wardrobe basically, you know, before they've moved into their next position. It's essentially a film. It's a moving film production happening around. And again, to say it's ridiculous, and you know, we've got shows like Jury Duty.
Well, that's literally what I was about to say.
Because that's essentially that's what's happening around him. Is he's in a big budget episode of television or a film, and he just doesn't know it.
Yeah, he's getting Truman Showed live. Like there's no set. There's just the environments that you're brought through. That goes on for a week.
Yeah,
like Christ. Yeah, how far could they?
The film is far
really
less absurd than Kermode thinks it is. You know, I think they would. I think the ideas just seemed unrealistic at the time, but you could absolutely do something like that today.
Yeah. Well, it's the like, you know, it's
a fucking YouTuber has the resources to do that today.
It's the EdTV thing as well, where it's like, of course, it seems absurd when you have to carry around a fucking huge TV camera, but now the cameras are, like credit card sized, slipped somewhere.
Could guerrilla shoot the whole thing, and someone would have no idea that they're being fucked with for a week.
Yeah. Jury Duty. There's hidden cameras. But there's a framework set up where they can be in their face with TV cameras.
Yeah.
But like, it looks great at all times. There's never a moment in that where you think this isn't TV quality footage, you know? You don't get that like there are episodes of The Office where it feels like they shot it on a handy cam stuck in a car, you know what I mean? Like there's early episodes where like, they go out in the car and suddenly the footage gets really grainy and weird, and it's like, this is the only camera they could fit in the car at this angle, you know? But it held me through that idea that, they've got him. They've just robbed him. This is interesting. What is this organization that has stolen this man's money and driven him to nothing and written him off as them? And just played with him in a very like, I think
like there's a point where it's just a really sophisticated it's just a really sophisticated crime operation. You know? That they've got the resources to do this, but to what end? You don't know, but they're doing it. And
so I bought that, and then I bought the moment that they had the reveal. I was like, fuck, what's the thing? And he's actually trying to kill his brother, and oh god, he's going to jump off the roof. And I was like, that's so grim. That's such a horrible ending. I was just like, that's Fincher after 7, like just a head in a box kind of ending. Yeah. And I was just like, and then we're just going to watch this guy slow-mo fall through, and he's just going to fall, and he's going to hit the ground. Oh, look at that. It's a giant airbag. And they knew exactly where he was going to land because they've choreographed this thing to fucking Batman entrance through a plate glass window into the birthday party that he's arriving at. And it's such a nice idea at that moment that the veil gets lifted and you start hearing like walkie-talkie chatter and film directing and stuff where it's like, okay, move the breakaway glass, safety guys in, you know, and it's a whole orchestrated event. And I don't know how I felt at that moment, you know, because I had this moment where it's like, go away, they're doing this, so it's actually pretty benign, and now everyone's here for a party, and what the fuck is this? How would people not know this sort of thing is going on?
And it's still not quite happy, you know, because everybody else is there, you know, spending his money, and he's had the experience of a lifetime, but he's also got to reconcile with all the shit that's come up, you know?
Yeah. What does he learn, though? What do we learn as an audience watching this? That those super rich can play with people's lives and walk away from it kind of... Yes, he's been through some stuff, but at the end of the day, he's just learned to fucking spend enough money and you can have the illusion of danger.
That's one take. I mean, the other take is that, you know, you would hope that he has a less harsher view of his brother. He has more of an appreciation for their relationship, and then the fact that he reaches out to Deborah Kara Unger's character. You get the sense that he's lived this life closed off since his. It's kind of it's in a lot of ways it's kind of like what the purpose of psilocybin and MDMA therapy is that you relive your trauma, and they say the only way to like really deal with your trauma is to get right up next to it, right, in a really uncomfortable way. And they're doing that now with psychedelics and MDMA and things like that. This guy does it with the most expensive therapy session ever, because essentially he's been closed off since his parents' suicide, and he's living this very kind of career-driven life, but he shut his family out, and he shut out other people, and he put career first. But then at the end, when he kind of asks Deborah Kara Unger's character, like, what's she doing next? It's kind of hinting that his brain has been rewired. That's my read of it.
Yeah.
It's been rewired in a way.
He's asking
not
about
fixed,
other people,
but he's
There's a few things that I didn't take a lot of notes watching it, but it reminded me of films like Skulls. Not a good film, but the same sort of idea that like the super rich are in a sort of paranoid control state. The Man Who Knew Too Little, which is a Bill Murray comedy thing. I love that a lot. And it's again a case of somebody just haphazardly walking into, is it a real situation, is it not? Like, he's kind of oblivious, thinking it's fake the entire time. But the one that popped out to me, and I've literally this moment sitting here spotted something that makes me bring it up. When the clown's body is being dragged into the mansion, it made me think of Sleuth with Michael Caine and Laurence Olivier. Do you know that film? Mm-hmm. Did you ever see it? Mm-hmm. Do you know who the director is on that? I pulled it up just because I thought I'd mention it, and then I saw who the director is.
No.
Mank.
Right.
Joseph L. Mankiewicz. Which is interesting and kind of further sort of, I guess, confirms that there's some influence there in terms of the.
I think Fincher did grow up in San Francisco, actually.
You think Fincher grew up in San Francisco?
I think he did,
okay.
Yeah. Possibly.
So, I think
because I remember he was saying when he remembers seeing that news bit about the Zodiac shooting kids on buses and stuff. And he was operating around that area. Mm-hmm. I think he was San Francisco. I might have that wrong. California for certain.
California. It knows how to party.
California.
Sleuth is one of those weird ones that they remade again in the.
Yeah,
when they had Jude Law doing everything that Michael Caine did for a minute.
Yeah. It only happened twice, but it was weird.
It was weird that it happened, yeah. Well, it was weird that they remade Alfie and Sleuth with Michael Caine. And then very soon after, Get Carter was made with Stallone.
Stallone. Yeah.
And so they were doing a like...
I mean, Jude Law was right there.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say about the game.
You liked it, though? You didn't hate it?
I liked it, yeah. I did like it. I think the settings, the stuff that he's put through is gripping the whole time, like that when the
and that's the thing as well, as it gets it's a bit more frivolous, which is fine,
yeah,
like people expect Fincher to be this kind of deadly serious kind of all the time, but he's allowed to make a kind of a frothy thriller as well,
yeah, it is
doesn't always have to be Zodiac
deadly serious, but it's also ultimately,
I love the music in it as well, actually.
I was going to go the opposite direction.
Yeah.
The one thing that bothered me in it was just the plinky piano all the time.
But it fits.
But it's all the time.
It is all the time, but I think if there's an instrument doing a thing out there that lends itself to intrigue and paranoia and suspense, it's a plinky piano. I think the reason the film sells you on, I think it's part of the reason it works is even if you're aware of it and don't like it,
Yeah.
it's doing its job.
But that's what I'm going to say, is that the job that it is doing is making me tense and irritated. And that's what the character's going through. And that is suitable to the thing. But I was doing the whole time, just stop with the fucking piano. I have the same thing with Taxi Driver, where that saxophone riff plays over and over and over again. And I can see the intent of that being, it's trying to drive you as mad as Travis is getting. And it does the fucking job.
And it's working.
Yeah. I think I might be pretty auditory sensitive to things. I get pissed off by that sort of stuff.
That's why your balance is shitty as well.
Oh, yeah?
You've got ear problems.
How do you know my balance is shitty? He said,
I've seen you.
my balance is so
We've
shitty.
stood in the same room together.
Yeah. I've fallen down standing still. I think this was a very enjoyable film. I was impressed with it. I was glad to see some early era Michael Douglas stuff. Or not even early era, but just sort of, I guess that would kind of be late era. He's after his...
Yeah, at the time it would have been...
Late era Douglas. He's past his prime, but he's still physically able to run around the place and stuff. You know, he's not the 30-year-old heartthrobby guy in Romancing the Stone or whatever it was, you know. But he's out there. What the hell happened? What else is, like, I'm just doing a quick look back at Douglas, because he definitely sort of settled into older cantankerous guy as we've gone on, and like the role he plays in the Ant-Man movies is it's fun to see him, but like I wish there was scope for him to do more. And maybe that's, you know, maybe I need to go and watch the what is that show, the something method, the Kaminsky Method. I hear that's fun.
It's won so many awards.
I
don't know a single person who's watched it.
So before The Game, he had The Ghost in the Darkness, which I haven't actually seen.
I've seen. I didn't really like it, but I might like it more now, but I probably wouldn't like it.
The American President, Disclosure, Falling Down, Basic Instinct, Shining Through. Have you ever heard of Shining Through? Michael Douglas, Melanie Griffith, an American woman of Irish and Jewish German parentage, goes undercover in Nazi Germany.
I have not seen that.
All right. Michael Douglas, Melanie Griffith, Liam Neeson.
Liam Neeson's.
1992. What year was Schindler's List?
I want to say 93, 94.
Well, I think that's the one I'm going to watch next on the Michael Douglas
Which?
front. Shining Through. It's a good cast. Have you any interest in watching that?
Oh.
No. Directed by David Seltzer.
Look, I'm on his wiki page now, and Shining Through doesn't get a mention.
What, on Michael Douglas?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's obviously in the filmography, but just in the first section on wiki, it doesn't get mentioned.
Yeah. I think it's probably Melanie Griffith as lead and Michael Douglas as... I mean, I'm going to guess they call it second lead, but it's supporting. The Mission? Did you ever see The Mission?
Yes.
You saw it?
Yes.
Is it good?
Great film. Yeah. If it's the film I'm thinking of.
De Niro.
Yeah. Yeah. De Niro. Morricone soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Great film.
Do you want
I had it.
Do you want to have
on
a chat
DVD
about it next
somewhere.
week?
Let's. I haven't watched it in a while.
Do you want to watch it and we talk about
Yeah,
it?
no, I'll watch it again.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
watch
there
it
we
again.
go from the talking. I have never seen The Mission. I have seen the picture of
You've seen the image.
De Niro with the sword.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that image. And for some reason, I like when I saw that as a youth with all the hair on it, it looked like Brosnan to me from a distance, and I had to go and go, who the fuck is that? And it's De Niro. So off the back of then Michael Douglas into David Seltzer's Shining Through, finding Liam Neeson and his path there, we've wandered into The Mission, because apparently Neeson is in The Mission. And I have not seen that. So
Cool.
that's
I have it on DVD.
That's next week's topic of conversation.
I hate not knowing where things I know I have
B.
are. Yeah.
Just to wrap up the game, thumbs up from Brian.
Oh God, yeah.
Recommend.
Yeah.
go watch.
And like, I totally get if people think this is too far-fetched, but I think, like I said, I think every passing year it gets less absurd. And it's just a beautiful looking film as well.
But
I really love
we can say it's far-fetched, but you go, and Kermode can say he hated it and it was far-fetched. But, well, hold on, when the fuck did he review this? Because I was about to go, I guess Truman Show would have come out around the same time. EdTV was 96. We had Big Brother kicking off. We were starting to see these observation,
what is reality
kind of shows happening. But if Kermode is reviewing it in a retrospective way in the last 2 years...
Well, see, I don't think he re-reviewed it. I think he just ranked the filmography. I don't think he went back and watched it.
Right.
Because I haven't listened to it in a while, but I think when he was talking specifically of like sitting at the back of the theater with a bunch of other critics and just like finding the whole thing ridiculous. Mm-hmm. I don't think he went back and rewatched it. Right. I think if he was to, well, I mean, he seems like a stubborn dude as well. He'd probably maybe stick to his guns.
Yeah.
But I think he was wrong then, and I think he'd be wronger now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I generally go to Kermode for my review choices, as I've said before. I usually wait until I've seen the thing before I watch them, because
I do like him. I just don't make a point of going to get his opinion. But I mean, I find my opinion is aligned with it. Like, he's a huge Fincher fan anyway, which I am too.
And he's just rating, he's not saying it's bad, he's saying it's a bit far-fetched.
People are allowed to dislike things.
He's rating the filmography of a director he admires. So
people are allowed to give their honest reaction to a thing.
Kevin, we're doing a little addendum record because you were unable to make the previous one with Brian. Did you watch The Game?
I watched it. First thoughts, parts of it feel a little bit like you're watching some sort of Christmas Carol, a dark, edgy 90s version of a Christmas Carol. You feel like he's going to be, at the start of it, you feel like he's going to be visited by three ghosts. He's very Scrooge, angry. I'm a mean businessman. No one talked to me.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I mean, that seems accurate.
It feels like if Tim Burton, off of the back of Batman, did a Christmas Carol with Michael Douglas.
Yeah, Scrooged.
At the start of it, Scrooged, exactly. Yeah,
which is the same Danny Elfman score as the Batman movie.
Oh, well, there you go.
Okay.
Well, there you go. Then I was somehow right.
You're pretty close to some aspects of it. Like, it's not as heavy-handed, but he's a character that, like, the people in his life think needs to connect. Or
apparently Jodie Foster was originally cast as Sean Penn's character, but instead of playing her sister, she wanted to play Michael Douglas's daughter, even though there was an 18-year age gap, and they decided against it. But she ended up suing for $54 million, even though her own production company was involved in the production of the movie. And it settled for out of court. David Fincher also apparently said that it's kind of one movie he wished he hadn't done.
Why did he say that?
I think what he had kind of intended and what he had visioned, and then too much production company interference and all that kind of stuff just made him not really enjoy the experience. And I did see an alternate ending for it. Did you?
I didn't see the alternate ending. I was aware there was an alternate ending.
It's not much different.
What's different in the alternate ending?
So spoilers.
Yeah, we've done that
for this 1997 movie. But yeah, no. You know, at the end, obviously, he gets in the taxi with the girl, with the actress. In the alternative ending, he just kind of walks out of the building, says kind of like waves off the taxi or something, and then just walks away.
Do you know, trying to think, the one thing I kind of didn't believe was him and her kind of getting together in any way, because every aspect of their acquaintanceship was lies. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
So him going out and going, hey, let's go to the airport. I was like, that's kind of forcing a romance in last minute, or I kind of don't know why they decided to do that. And well, I do know why they decided to do that, because somebody feels it adds to basic happy ending bullshit. But what did you think of the story? Did you?
So
what was the emotional roller coaster you went on watching the movie?
So funny enough, you hadn't seen this. I hadn't seen it. I'm not sure if Brian had seen it before.
Brian had seen it. He's a big Fincher head, so he had seen it.
And Emer has seen it a few times.
Oh.
Yeah,
right.
Emer had seen it a few times, so Emer knew exactly the movie.
Right.
So, emotional roller coaster ride. Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I thought it was good. It's a good movie.
Well, like, when I say, unless Emer or Brian gave you any direction on it,
I know.
Like, there was points where I'm like, this is a game. Oh, this is a con. Oh, this is a game. Or this was a con. Or, oh, now he's actually fucked himself up. Like, I genuinely had 3 moments where I was like, I think I know what's happening. And then it wasn't.
Same. Yeah. And it keeps you guessing to the very, very end.
Yeah.
Have you seen Dan? I always get it wrong. Dan Brown's The Push?
No. Sorry. Darren Brown's
The Push. Sorry.
Dan Brown wrote the Da Vinci Code.
Yeah.
Darren Brown's The Push. Yes, I have. It did make me think of that as well.
Yeah, so basically, Darren Brown's The Push is identical to this to a degree. Why you make grimacing like that?
It's not identical to this. There's a moment towards the end that is similar.
But I would say it's identical in the sense of one person is unaware of what's going on and everybody else is in on it. Like, it's the game on a smaller scale.
Okay. No, I think I suppose that's fair.
Yeah, no, go fuck yourself with your grimace.
Well, I mean, hold on. Michael Douglas knows what's fucking going on. He knows that everyone's fucking with him.
It's
the guy in the push has no idea anything's going on.
Yes, but it's similar in a lot of ways. In terms of, and then like even the payoff of the movie is the payoff of the push.
Yes.
Essentially.
Yeah, that's fair. And that's actually a good other example as well from like Brian and I were talking about the idea that critics thought it very unrealistic that any sort of scenario could be created wherein one person doesn't, like, they thought it was sort of ludicrous that degree of paranoia that the world could be created artificially around them or controlled around them. And like, again, Truman Show was coming out around the same time, and we just watched Jury Duty, and The Push is another example, as you say, of somebody being put through silliness. What did you make of, any thoughts on the aesthetic, the filmmaking?
Like, kind of, it's funny because David Finch is such a strong filmmaker and he's
comic book artist.
Is it David Fincher as the director?
Fincher.
I always get confused. Here, it's early, man.
I know. I'm just being sarky. I'm starting fights.
Yeah. I guess.
David Fincher.
Yeah, the movie's alright, I guess. David Fincher. What was I saying? He's a great director, but this one just completely went under the radar. I wasn't aware of it, and it definitely feels like one of his weaker movies. I think aspects of the film are fun. There's even a few laughs in it. Yeah. It definitely feels like the most basic 90s thriller with regards to other things he's done.
Right. Yeah. That's fair. That's great.
But I could have watched this movie and not knowing it was Fincher and not know it was Fincher all the time and probably be a little bit like, oh, all right. But just reading there, so David Fincher has admitted in interviews that he is not proud of this film. He has explained that he was fighting with executives at Polygram Entertainment, which was the distributor of the film, and that he agreed with his wife, Sian Chafin, who produced the film, that he never should have made the film, citing that he couldn't get the third act, and it was my fault because if I thought you could just keep your foot on the throttle, it would be liberating and funny. But there you go. So David Fincher seemed to struggle with this movie as it was in production, and then just didn't like the payoff. Michael Douglas, he does a great late 90s Michael Douglas. To be fair, I was watching it kind of thinking like, if he wasn't, maybe if he was a little bit younger or something, but he would have made a great Doctor Doom at some stage.
Oh, okay.
But the cast is great. Sure, like Sean Penn, kind of only a small role in it, really. Like, and I know Sean Penn is like, hit and miss and probably a shitty person, but
well, he did it. I guess I don't know enough about Sean Penn. Is he hit and miss?
Well, like he's in some, he's in some good things. He's not.
I was going to say that it's Sean Penn has become such a serious figure that it's fun kind of seeing him
be kind of goofy and zany
in a lighter role, because you think of like Fast Times. Is it Fast Times or Ridgemont High he's in, where he's the goofy stoner kid, like he's really wandered into the guy that you see in like Milk and Mystic River and like he's this heavy, serious, miserable looking motherfucker a lot of the time now,
Yeah, fair.
To see him being goofy and fun is kind of refreshing,
Yeah. Deborah Kara Unger, who I would recognize from a lot of things, but don't kind of.
Yeah, I didn't recognize her from anything. I've not seen Crash, which I think is one of her big other credits, or was her big credit at the time.
Yeah. No,
what did you make of her then, I guess?
Well, I've definitely seen her in things for sure. Again, kind of just, no more than kind of like a few actors in this movie, and to a lesser extent Michael Douglas, but just kind of a good standard 90s actor
Performance.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of in there with the same like I guess pre-complete CGI takeover. I guess like The Firm, I think, is the Tom Cruise one where he's the lawyer, and like the Pelican Brief and that sort of thing. This does have a more surreal kind of element to it, I guess, with just the way the world is built around them. Yeah,
I do like kind of. I did like I do like how it kind of keeps you guessing so much, like, how you think he's uncovered it and he's, gotten to the root of it, and like he's in the HQ and he's exposed everybody, but it keeps on going and going and going, and even like, oh my god, like he has a real gun and all that kind of stuff, we didn't check for that one, and like it's really, I like kind of the twisty and turny of it, even if it's a little bit like kind of basic or something, but I do like how it kind of twists and turns. And I do kind of like, again, I like you get a real feel for the extent and the power of the CRS, the company that he's entangled with in this game service, I think it's good. Like, you are constantly guessing, like, that has to be an actor in the game, that has to be this, that has to be that, I do like that. And I do think it's good as well that, right up until the end, everything, but and how elaborate it is. I think that's good.
Would you recommend it?
Yeah, for sure. Why not? Like, I think if someone it wouldn't be like the top of my recommendations list, but if I was chatting to somebody and I say that, if they asked me what I watched recently, I'd say The Game. Why not? Like, it's a solid movie.
Yeah,
like it's a
out of 10.
7 out of 10. It's maybe not 7. That's probably a bit high, but like, a good 6. And I like kind of how like it also is liberating for these guys at the end, or for these people at the end, having gone through the game, they do come out like, like better, for a new insight for life, or a new insight into themselves and stuff. So I can see how like it's extremely expensive, but it's worth it, Well, I do think it's funny at the end where they're all just like, having a party and dancing and all that kind of stuff. Like, these people don't know each other, you know what I mean? Like, or do they do this at the end of every game that they do? Just big massive piss up.
It was weird. I was thinking of when they like run through the canteen and everybody's hanging out, and it's like, why the fuck would they be hanging out? And then I went, well, actually, I suppose they are all supposed to be at this party downstairs in 15 minutes. I guess it's just a staging area for like a big dramatic production. It's very odd in many ways.
But you could see something like this happening in reality.
Yeah, you can see. Yeah,
on a smaller scale, perhaps.
I mean, the Glass Onion is a billionaire staging a murder mystery world around himself, whether or not Benoit Blanc cuts it short on him. Like, it's that idea that like a billionaire would put together something weird for themselves to do. I guess it's just like I came away a little like, the message is what? Like, you can run roughshod through society as long as you got a lot of money.
Well, okay, yeah, that's also true. Like, kind of, again, that's also an aspect of it. Like, do I really care about some super wealthy San Francisco banker? It's like, I don't.
Yeah, like these very close to being Randolph and Mortimer from Trading Places, taking a $1 bet over somebody's life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I also think part of the fact that they have his father commit suicide on his birthday and stuff is literally just to make him more empathetic, or for you to feel empathy for him more. But
look, there you go. That's
I like the cover art.
Take. You like the cover art?
Yeah, it's super 90s thrillers. Yeah, it's great. It's Michael Douglas's face breaking off into jigsaw puzzle pieces. It's great. Yeah. It's called, the tagline was "Players Wanted." Interesting.
Any other nerd news or thoughts for the week?
No. I had my buddy over and we watched 7 Fast and the Furious in a row. We skipped Tokyo Drift because it doesn't really...
But those guys come back, right?
Briefly, yeah.
Okay.
But Conan tell you.
Had you seen the Fast and Furious movies?
I saw the first 2.
Right.
Potentially the third one, and I saw number 7. So I didn't see... Well, I don't think I saw the third one. I didn't see 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Right.
So I saw 1, 2, and 7. I have not seen any since. So we said we get together. We were going to have, kind of we made a whole day and night of it.
Right.
Went out for breakfast and then dinner and then got a takeaway. All that jazz. It was a good day. Good fun. Shout out to Mark. But Fast and Furious, man. My God, what a blur of, and they try to keep the single narrative going through all of them and stuff.
Well, having watched 7 of them, did you come away going, each of these films was fantastic and I remember these points, or is it just a blur of like shots of feet pushing accelerators and engines revving? Yeah,
it's a blur of whatever. It's exactly that. And like the thing is, the first couple of movies are focused on cars and car stunts, but cars are just cars at the end of the day. And come like the third one, like cars have done enough of what cars can do to be interesting, so they just have to start pushing it to the point
space
where they're firing cars out of like 3 buildings in like Dubai. But like, at the end of the day, like kind of like they're like, they're as, for me, they're as, there's a place in the world for these as much as there is like franchises like Mission Impossible or James Bond or any of these things, as in like, they hit their points, their tropes, they have X, Y, and Z. Like, they're not for me. I'm not into them. But I can safely say that after watching 7 of them. But there are they, like, for me, they're no more ridiculous than James Bond or,
cool,
any of those things. I think that's really it. I don't think I watched anything else. Well, that was enough, really, to be fair.
Fair enough. Well, thanks for your time, Kevin. And we now resume podcast with Brian.
Yes. Adios, amigos. Thanks for having me. Slán Abhaile.
I haven't watched all of The Bear yet, but I've watched a bunch of it. My God, episode 6. Mm-hmm. Holy hell. Have you watched it?
The Christmas Party.
Yeah.
What an episode.
Phenomenal.
It was amazing, yeah. So we are now...
I almost turned it off at the start. It was too much.
Yeah.
It settles a bit, and it remains intense, but at the start it was just... I get the point was to be intense, but at the start it's just a little too busy. But then it quietens down a bit, and then it's just so effective.
Mulaney is so funny,
He's
just
great.
there. He plays that just right as well.
He's playing it perfectly. Yeah, it's just like the whole thing is like, it's like, what's Mulaney doing here? And that's exactly what it's supposed to be. It's like, what's this normal dude doing?
That's it.
Amongst these psychopaths.
It's I don't know, every crazy fucking family having a family reunion has one person who married into it, and it's just like, what?
I love his reaction.
I may have made a mistake.
Borrowing $500 off him,
I'll give you that right now. Just to...
I'm gonna give it to you. I enjoy you guys. And he doesn't even mean it like it's not mean spirited. It's just.
Do you have $250? It's like, I am a 40-year-old man, of course.
I have access to it.
So I can tell you, I really enjoyed The Bear, and I
haven't watched all of the whole season yet. But
I had a couple of moments where I was able to like cycle around the city and find the spot in Chicago where that happened, which was fun. I had forgotten that it was set in Chicago until I started watching it, and then I was in Chicago and, oh, this is cool. I'm in the place they're at.
You're doing the DiCaprio meme.
Yep. Richie's story is great. Did you get to the episode where Richie?
I watched the episode where he does. Yeah. I think that's immediately after the Christmas episode.
Right. Great episode.
So nice. Yeah. I was talking to someone at work, and they had watched the season already, and they were talking about the Christmas episode, and they were saying like, I didn't know it was the Christmas episode they were talking about. They said there was one episode where it was too much, and they had to watch it on mute. And then while I was watching, I was like, this is the episode. And then I mentioned it to her yesterday that I watched it, and she said, the episode after it was my favorite. And that's the Richie.
It's so beautiful, and it's so quiet it's so nice. Comparison. Yeah, it's so nice.
I kept expecting something to go wrong, but it's just a nice tonic to the preceding episode. Yeah, much needed.
It's like, in many ways you could go, this is unrealistic that he would have this complete emotional turnaround in the space of a week, doing grunt work, but at the same time, somehow it sold me. And they did.
But it would completely, and like a lot of what he's doing as well is related to like mindful kind of practices. Doing a small task, like it's rooted in so much Zen stuff, Zen gardening and all that. Like just doing a simple task, and doing it to a high level.
Well, he was looking for a larger thing to feel important, and it took a small thing to feel. Relevant, to feel like you're making an impact. Little things in people's lives, service, I guess. And they dwell on that word service a bit, even from a restaurant context to like you if you're particularly cynical, you can
but I mean, you can be cynical about anything that's heartwarming.
Yeah. There is
you can choose to let it warm your heart, or you can be like, bleh.
Yeah. I think it did a very fantastic job of one thing in particular, which was like kind of a misdirect and then a redirect in the opening of that episode, where you're with Richie, you're looking at the hyper excess of this restaurant, and the price and the pretension and the lights and the shit hanging off the ceiling, and then every second counts, and everybody being sort of so pissed off and just sort of like, every second counts, you can't cost us time. And that being this sort of meaning of like a militarized, cold kind of thing. I guess harkening back to Joel McHale.
It could also just be an appreciation for every moment,
That's the reveal towards the end. That quiet story from Olivia Colman, where she goes, at the end of every journal entry from my father, he wrote 3 words, and they really mean a lot to me. And then she walks away. And he goes, and he looks at the wall, and it's every second counts. And it's like, oh, that's great. They, from beginning to end, they pivoted that feeling.
Yeah.
You kind of go on the same journey as him. There's fantastic stuff being done in that show.
Yeah.
Didn't like the last episode.
I've heard some people say that. Yeah, I haven't watched it yet. So
I will say, I don't think I'm giving anything away the way that I phrase this. At the end of season 1,
Says the guy who spoiled Get Out and James Bond.
Sure,
go
but
on.
at the end, yeah, but that was intentional to irritate.
I know. I'm joking.
This is a show within a month of it being released. I'm not going to do that to you. But at the end of season 1,
it only came out here a week. Not even a week. 2 days ago. Came out 2 days.
It came out in America earlier. When
We're not in America.
I was in America, at the end of season 1, there's this lovely little musical moment where they find the money and Carmi's like looking down and Sid walks in and they go, what are we going to do with the money? And it's like, they look at each other and you know it means we're going to redesign, we're going to make a restaurant. And they have that exchange of like, family style, yeah, Danish, whatever, two top, like, what'll we call it? And he looks away and then it cuts to the bear coming soon on the front of it. And that moment is like happily ever after. I know everything that's going to come after this. This is going to be, I can build a story in my mind of what comes after this. I do not need another season. They have tied this up with a fucking ribbon. It's beautiful. I don't know if they knew they were going to get a second season. So they did a great job of that. This,
I think they did.
They know they're getting a third season. And I feel like they just started hanging strings for it.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, come on, we didn't need to do... We didn't need to do this. And I reached the point in the episode where I'm just like, oh...
Mike is alive, isn't he? Oh my God. What a reveal.
Yeah, he's the Punisher now.
He faked it. It's all a game.
Yeah, this is actually part of the MCU. And...
well, it is.
oh yeah, Disney, right?
Fucking what? Who? Adam Warlock's in it. Olivia Colman from Secret Invasion's in it. The Punisher's in it.
Yep.
Micro's in it. Who am I missing?
I mean, Carmi's going to get into the MCU eventually.
Yeah, he's going to be.
He's in great shape.
There's rumors that Richie's going to be Ben Grimm.
I heard that. That's just voice work, though, right? He's the Rock equivalent. He's Korging. Good voice.
He'd have to mocap that. Surely.
I don't know.
You don't get him to just do voice work.
Who did? Well, I guess did Taika mocap Korg?
He did, yeah.
Okay, well then to whatever extent that'll be the.
Yeah. You only get voice work when it's Bradley Cooper and you can't afford him on set the whole time.
That and he's a
the exception being
2
Brolin.
foot, 3 foot raccoon. They're not mocapping anyone that small, right? They got Sean Gunn walking around with a little puppet head, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The Bear's great. Is basically what we're rounding out there. Quick wind up, I guess, of the podcast.
I started watching They Cloned Tyrone.
Right.
Came out yesterday.
Yeah, I saw it pop up.
I was watching it late, but it looks really good.
Okay.
I was getting sleepy, which is rare, but I jumped on it
and slept.
Like I better sleep now that I'm being sleepy. But it's good. It's gotten really good reviews, so I'm gonna go back and watch that today. Maybe.
What I was going to ask then is I haven't had a chance to, because I started doing maths in my head and was like, I don't want to spend that much money. Mission Impossible, Oppenheimer, Barbie. I see each of those as a guts of a €20 ticket plus food, and I'm looking at the guts of €100 of going to the cinema.
Mission Impossible first.
You think? Did you see it?
God, yeah.
Did you see it?
Yeah.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay. We can leave it there on that. Did you get to Oppenheimer?
Not yet. I was going to go check it out, and then I saw a thread talking about. I haven't seen the film yet, and I've heard people talking about the film saying that it does kind of question like America's role in the creation of the bomb, right? But it also kind of mythologizes this guy. Like the film's called Oppenheimer, right? So it's not the most flattering portrait of America, but it does sort of mythologize this white dude. I was reading a thread about how the New York Times review says, it's this clandestine lab in an isolated remote location in New Mexico, ignoring the fact that they bulldozed people off their land and shot their livestock. and then they put those people to work with hazardous materials and didn't give them any protective equipment, and a lot of them died as a direct result of that. And it's like, okay, you know, Nolan's had this passion project for, let's say, a decade to make this film. And the fact that he doesn't bother to include that in it, that is a choice, you know? He can't say I didn't know about it, because so much of the telling and the selling of the film is how much research and, you know, this being a passion project. It's like, and did you just not read that stuff? Was your research that shallow, or did you choose to omit it? Which is it? So I was all for supporting Cillian Murphy in a, you know, marquee role, but at the same time, not great.
I spoke to someone yesterday who had seen it, and his response was, I hated it. It was 3 hours of white men talking miserably, and there's no humanity in it. Which is
Nolan.
The Nolan...
He's a cold...
the Nolan stamp of filmmaking. And I have been enjoying the marketing thing for it, the whole Barbie, Oppenheimer thing.
Boppenheimer. So much better.
Boppenheimer, whatever you want to call it.
Boppenheimer.
But somebody asked me, are you looking forward to it? And I was like, well, not really. Like, I know it's a Nolan film, but I don't know anything about it. I don't know what...
Tenet sucked.
Tenet wasn't great. No, I didn't enjoy Tenet. So I want to see Mission Impossible. Then I'll see...
Yeah, go see Mission Impossible. Then Barbie.
Yeah. I don't know if I need to go to the cinema for Barbie. I did see...
No, you probably don't.
Bunches
like you said,
of people walking around in pink outfits yesterday, which is funny. It's interesting spotting the people who are jumping on the thing going, oh, they're getting involved with a fun thing. I think that's fun. But I also do know that Penny's has been shilling pink clothes for the last 3 months in sort of tie-in. So it's like, how much of this is the cinema thing and how much of it is just the fashion of the last couple of months has sold a lot of pink clothes. I think that's where I'm at. I think that's where we'll leave it. We landed on The Mission.
And then you're going to go see The Mission Impossible.
My mission, should I choose to accept it?